What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Life's a Dance podcast. I am your host, Trey Kulata, and thank you, as always, for pressing play. If you're new here, welcome. I appreciate you joining me because I am on a mission to help each and every one of us, myself included, figure out what the hell we're doing here on this crazy planet and doing this crazy thing called life and this human experience so that we can live more joyous, more prosperous, and more authentic lives. So today's topic is going to start in the form of a question. Have you ever experienced or noticed in your life that the thing that you need to do the most is the thing that you have the most resistance to doing? Because I feel like time and time again, this is something that we need to be taking stock of, because I know in my life personally, every time I have had resistance to some sort of change or new habit that I'm trying to implement, or just getting started. So like, let's take, exercise, for instance. How many of you out there have had resistance to, just starting some type of consistent workout regimen, or eating healthier, although that's a very broad term. And obviously, we could do a whole episode on dialing in, and have done whole episodes on dialing in, specific terminology around setting goals. But more specifically, I just want to talk about this topic of recognizing when you're feeling resistance to something, and noticing that a lot of times when there is resistance to something, that it's the one thing that you really need to do in order to see the biggest change in your life. Whether, again, that's starting an exercise regimen, or finally, quitting that job or starting that company, confronting that person, your partner, whatever, about an issue that you're having, a coworker, it's just so crazy to me how, like, you'll feel that, like, God, I don't want to do it. Or waking up early in the morning. That's one that was tough for me over the past few months, because I was going through a lot of emotional tumult. And perhaps my body just really did need the sleep and the reset and all that. But me being the little spiritual chipmunk that I am, I feel like there's never a minute to waste. And then I'm hard on myself when I don't follow through on that consistency piece that I'm usually pretty good at when it comes to things like waking up in the morning and eating and exercising pretty well and all that good stuff, Like, I am a creature of habit. If I fall out of habit, I am definitely hard on myself. And obviously starting new habits is even more challenging, but it's funny because I'm like, just like I was talking about, I think in my last episode, the quiet experiment, my body was so resistant to making a change of just sitting in the quiet with my family versus having the TV running in the background or music going or being on each of our respective electronic devices. It was disconcerting to me, like how my body was literally reacting to what was happening. And it was resistance. It wasn't like a good reaction. It was a bad reaction. Like, my body was resisting this change. And so I want you to think about in your life, if there's something going on right now or happening right now where you're experiencing that feeling of resistance. I could give you another good example of, earlier in my career, in my internet marketing days, I was working for a company, and this was pre-divorce from Joel, where I was still a fucking brat. I was just so entitled. And my boss came in, and I was on the sales team, and it's like, hey, they implemented this new thing or a protocol where we had to start setting up regular conference calls with our clients every 2 weeks. And we had to stick to this kind of very regimented schedule. And I was not about it because I was cruising. I liked what I was doing. I was happy with the results I was getting. I was, for all intents and purposes, complacent. I didn't necessarily need, to create any more sales activity, in my opinion, because I was doing just fine. But obviously the company itself wanted more sales. So me as an account manager, I was used to coasting. I didn't want to do the hard work, which I feel like now I'm all here for it. But at the time, I was just so resistant to the idea, and I go in my boss's office and why do we got to do this and blah, blah, blah. And you know what happened? Because eventually I had to concede, right? Otherwise it was like this or lose my job. So I started making the calls, and guess what happened? I started making even more money, and it was basically a win-win situation. But I was just so resistant to the idea of change. And luckily for me, I've gone through enough in my life now where I realize that change is it's a part of life. There is no stopping change. It's like you can't stop the ocean waves from coming, but you can learn to surf. So even though that resistance may be coming, how do we channel our inner surfer to be able to handle those things as they come and almost like recognize the beauty and the opportunity that it is more than likely going to bring? So like right now, I'm studying for my real estate license, and I know a lot of people out there will be like, oh my God, you're crazy. The market is complete shit right now. Well, guess what? It's not going to be a full-time gig, number one. Number two, who cares? It's better to learn, I feel like, in the tougher times than it is when people are riding high on the hog, and then you always have this expectation of things being easy. So I'd almost rather learn during a time when you have to get creative and you have to be a little more imaginative in the way that you do things, and scrappy. So, I'm not afraid to roll my sleeves up and get a little dirty. You know what I mean? But initially, for the longest time, I told myself over the past few years as I've started this journey into real estate investment, like, man, I really would never want to be a real estate agent. Like, I'm happy to pay somebody else to do it. But after dealing with so many real estate agents, I'm like, you know what? I could probably do a better job if I just fucking did it myself, because I know I hold myself to a pretty high standard. So anyway, I guess the point is that like I always kind of resisted that idea of doing it. And had I done it a few years ago, I would already have the experience by now. But you know what? Hindsight, always 2020. Can't be focused on the fact that I didn't do the thing 3 years ago. Best time to start is right effing now. So let's do that. Let's embrace the resistance. Let's figure out what that resistance is trying to tell us. Because our lizard brains, the ones that are accustomed, our caveman brains that are accustomed to just always thinking about doubt and fear and worry, are always going to initially put up those red flags, right? Like, this doesn't feel right. This isn't okay. I don't feel safe. And I don't feel secure. And I'm worried and And how is it? And always trying to figure out the how. But I'm telling you right now, like, what that resistance is actually trying to show you is that there's an area for growth. Like, you think about the seed. We talked about this back in the spring about how that seed has to, you plant it, it's under the ground, can't even, for all intents and purposes, I know seeds can't technically see, but they don't see the light of day. It's almost like they just feel it, right? I don't know how it works because I'm not a scientist. All I know is that somehow the light particles get through the soil and the plant seed, absorbs it in its little skin, and then it pops out, and it has to completely destroy its original form in order to become what it becomes, whether that's a flower or a corn stalk or some basil or whatever. It has to completely shed its old self. And it transforms. And so, and it's all through that power of resistance, and eventually gets up through the soil. It has to go through that process. Otherwise it can't grow. It can't be strong. Think about weight training, same thing. You know, God, I don't want to pick up these heavy weights, but when you do, and you get that resistance, yeah, see that gun right there, YouTube viewers? I know it's intimidating. So anyway, let's come to a close here. What is it in your life that feels like you have so much resistance to? I know a lot of us, it's like just getting to the gym or just waking up early in the morning. It's those little things, those bits of resistance, but they're here to tell us a story. They're here to give us an opportunity to grow and become the people that we are meant to become, to realize that next level of our potential. Because if we're not growing, we're slipping. And I don't want to go down. I don't want to go down. Like, I'm tired of that. I want to go up. I mean, I'm not to say that failure isn't going to happen, because failure is not the opposite of success. It is a part of success. It's part and parcel of success. So let's reframe that as well. So getting back to the point here, think about something in your life that you are having resistance to, and really look inward and ask yourself, like, is this the one thing that I need to do in order to really see the biggest change in my life? And if it is, which I have a feeling it's going to be, go do it. Go do the thing. Quit resisting the change and get in there with your surfboard and ride the wave. Like, make that change your bitch. Okay, guys? Words to live by. I know. All right, that's going to do it for today. I love you all. Until next time, let's dance.